how did you let go of the emotion that comes with selling your business?
Mm-hmm. Dude, it was so hard. So hard. I feel like the hardest part was actually more the separation of my business partner,
Really?
Hunter.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's weird to say, but like that was the hardest part, was telling him where my decision lied. Yeah. So first it started off with, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. I wanted memories with my wife. Like, we honestly, like, money, yes, is the gas for the car. But at the end of the day, like, you can make anything work. Like for example, my grandpa, him and his brothers went to the World Fair way back when. And they're from Idaho. And I was talking to him about his journey.
Where was the World Fair at located?
It was in Seattle at this time.
Okay.
I don't know what year it was. But anyways, him and his brothers couldn't afford to go there, fly, drive, whatever. So what they did is 2 months prior, they started driving and they would stop at farms and work at farms for 2 weeks.
No.
And then they'd go to work. And like, in my mind, I was like, that is so cool.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like, what did they miss out on as far as like financially staying in their town in Ricks, Idaho, or Idaho Falls, wherever? And it's like, okay, maybe a few $1,000s, maybe a better stance. But I would argue that the memories created and then also just the refresh of life would come down. They would come back from that just so much more exhilarated to crush it in whatever they did. And they honestly did end up doing very well in their careers. But anyways, it was just a cool idea that I was like, they wanted to go to the World Fair, so they made it happen.
Yes.
And Kayla and I, we wanted to travel the world, so we made it happen.
Yes.
And so that was the first decision, was we wanted wild memories together in our young age. We knew once we had kids, we couldn't really do this. So we didn't have kids. We were financially
I'm hoping
stable.
you can. I have my first daughter coming. I keep telling my wife we're going to try.
I'm sure you can. I shouldn't say that. But
it's the game changes.
Yeah. It totally does.
I'm not sure we can. I hope we can.
There is definitely things in Italy that we did that we probably couldn't do with kids.
Right.
Like, we would go to the train station and
like the nude beach.
We did end up on one. Not on purpose, though.
Well, you hear Europe, they don't like kids very much. Like, you can't go to restaurants and certain places. Like, I don't know if you've heard that before. I haven't been. I just heard.
They're going to have to suck it up.
Yeah, they got to get over it because Ben's going.
You got on the train once.
So anyways, we would go to the train station and just pick a random place and go. And like, it was wild because you didn't no idea what you were going to see. You know? And it was just like those type of memories that we created together, like, never forget. Never, you know? And like, yes, I look at Sparks right now and they're doing great. Like, they're in a really good spot and they're continuing to grow, and you missed your baby. You really do. But I would not give it up for the memories I've had with my wife.
Right.
So how did I detach myself from that to eventually make the decision? Oh, I have no idea. I mean, there was a lot of pondering and praying, and like, ultimately I made the decision firsthand with my wife that, hey, we want to enjoy our honeymoon age, you know, the first year or two of marriage. Like, we wanted to enjoy that. So, we had the idea of going to Europe. Well, originally it was Bali, but then, we found out COVID because we started doing research and, found out Europe was open. We didn't think we were going to have to get the vaccine. Long story short, ended up having to get it. Let's not go into that. Yeah, my wife actually got way sick from it. We had to go to the ER.
What?
Dude, it's like those horror stories. But I don't want to go into it because honestly, I don't like politics. Yeah. But long story short, I made the decision with my wife and I was firm on it. And honestly, she guided me through the whole thing. So I knew firsthand I needed to tell my business partner that I wanted to transition to exit. And I called him and I explained the whole thing. We were way good friends. So literally it was broken down. We talked all about it. Him and I we've had those moments where you go way in deep on so many different topics just because it's weird how much time you spend with your business partner. Yeah.
We're realizing that as we start the podcast. We've spent like 10 times as much. No, 50 times as much time.
Yeah.
So
totally.
How did he react?
He was so good. Like, literally, like, he could not have reacted better. Like, full support. Really good, to say the least.
Yeah, like, at the end of the day, like any relationship, they want what's best for you. It might be hard. Like, he might, in anything. It's just like an employer, too. Mm-hmm. You might have an employee that or an employer that they'd feel really they'd miss you, obviously, but they want what's best for you.
I said that to one of my guys yesterday. Just sidebar. This guy, he's working like 4 jobs, all
Jeez.
part-time, and he doesn't sleep. I had a 1-to-1 with him yesterday. I was like, hey man, like if you have to quit this job to be healthy, you have to do that. Like I'd rather you quit the other jobs and stick with us. And I'm going to do a couple things to make that happen. But I'm not going to let you keep doing this to yourself because he's working 80 hours a week. He doesn't see his kids. He doesn't see his wife. He's tired on the job. He always works nights and days. I'm like, dude, it's over. You're not doing this anymore. Like, make a decision. And if it means you have to step away, you have to step away even from me, but you got to do what's best for you.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I mean, honestly, saying that says how much of a good person you are too. Because back to like Hunter, like the fact that the way he dealt with it was
It's a good sign.
Oh,
Of who he is.
and it also made me feel better about the decision too. He's like, listen, at the end of the day, like I want what's best for you.
Yeah.
And like, he's like, yes, I'm sad that you're leaving the business and stuff.
Yeah.
And everything that goes with that. It was a little complicated. You have to go through, getting yourself off the entity. And then of course, what purchase or like how much
Your
is
agreement,
it worth, things like that. Like that was more, it was actually very smooth, but I mean, of course it's not a fun
It could have gone sideways. That's awesome that it went good.
Yeah. And it was just like you with your employer, or your employee, like he was so good about it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, I started off just calling him and I was just like, dude, this is where I'm at. This is my situation. Kayla and I have been pondering and praying about this. We feel as though this is the move. Like, what are your thoughts? And he was all for it. Full support. So yeah, I mean, I signed an NDA, so we can't go into like details about like how that went as far as financially. But anyways, we made the split. I was in a good position at a young age, and Kayla and I it was so weird because it was like, December when this thing's finally finalized, Christmas rolled around, and we're like, we did it. I know that sounds goofy, but it was like, wow, like we told ourselves January of 2022, like we wanted to go. And we're here.
Wow.
Like, I'm not a huge believer in like universe manifesting, things like that. But holy cow. Like,
But I believe in doTERRA.
I believe in doTERRA. And I believe good things come from those that shoot for it, just go for it. And
true.
like, it was weird, but I think it was subconsciously in our mind. It was always the goal. And like, we always like we would love to like plan like way cool trips. Like, for example, when we first started dating, on a Sunday, we booked a flight on a Wednesday to go to Puerto Rico together.
Nice.
And we tried to get all our friends to go. Ended up just being her and I.
Ben knows exactly how that goes.
I'm sure your parents
Ben's
were
tried
super
lots
happy.
of Fen trips that no one can go to sometimes.
Sometimes they make it,
We
though.
can make it sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised that other people couldn't make it, but it was like, that's our type of relationship, is like we love exploring and creating memories together, like cliff jumping in the middle of the night. Like, for example, if we want to talk about, leading into your question, like where am I going now? So I turned 24 on Saturday.
Happy birthday, Saturday.
Thank you.
Last
I appreciate
Saturday.
it. Last Saturday.
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you.
Your birthday pod.
I appreciate it. Birthday pod. Sounds like a baby pod
Yeah.
or something. But anyways, so awesome birthday, way fun. But Kayla and I chose, that year, 24 hit. We're like, all right, let's set some new goals. Like, what do we want to do this new year? And it was more personally for myself, but she wants to be we're a part of each other's lives, of course. And we're like, what would be something super rad to do this year?
Yeah.
Up until next August. And we came up with a sweet idea. At least we think so. We're stoked. Do you guys want to hear it?
I want to hear it.
Okay, so you guys are going to think it's cheesy, but have you ever heard of Ozaki 8? It's random. It's from like
Own it, man. What is it?
it's from a movie that was like not as popular, low production, but basically it's based around fulfilling at least the Ozaki 8. I'll go into what our version of it is going to be. Ozaki 8 is reaching nirvana, is what it's about.
Oh, I know Nirvana.
Yeah, so you've heard of Nirvana. I mean, have you heard of Misogi by chance?
Well, there's levels you have to go through to get to nirvana.
Yeah. Well, Misogi's different. It basically comes from a Japanese tradition where you go on an extreme excursion. The goal is you have a 50% chance of living or at least finishing. So in Japanese tradition, back in the day when you were 12 years old, they would go put you in the woods like 50 miles away.
Yes.
You had to return and survive, and then you would jump into cold water. Misogi.
I've heard of that.
Anyways, I'm obsessed with them. Like Kayla and I, while we were in Europe, we did a Misogi, and basically it's all personal. You know, like whatever your Misogi is, like maybe your Misogi is just running around the block. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ours was super cool. We wanted to grab a rock from the bottom of a mountain, carry it to the top, place it on the top, and then run down into the Mediterranean Sea and dive in.
Whoa.
It was a full day thing. It was like 15 miles or something, but it was just rad. Like it's weird how like spiritually enlightened you feel after pushing yourself past that point.
Right.
And anyways, so we want to fulfill 4 Misogis throughout the year, and we want to base them out the elements. I know it sounds cheesy.
I love
fire, water, wind, and
He's a big fan of Avatar.
Last Airbender.
Really?
Yes.
Dude.
I'm
Well,
a
there
huge
you go.
Airbender fan.
Okay, well, I'd love to hear your
He's the
opinion.
#1 Avatar fan.